In the dark, unforgiving void of New Eden, where danger lurks around every asteroid, one pilot dares to face the most fearsome challenge, solo, and a rattlesnake. But not just any rattlesnake, and not just any pod. This one has Nirvana implants, and enough tank to make even PvPers question their own sanity. Today we're diving into the world of Gurista's forward operating bases, or as I like to call them, the pirate pit stops. These sneaky rabbit lovers think they can set up shop in our systems, but today we're here to show them why you don't mess with a pilot who's got more drones than friends. First things first, let's talk the fit. This bad boy is decked out in the finest Caldari Galente fusion for pure destruction. We got the usual suspects for FOBs, passive tank, heavy missiles, and a bunch of drones that are so angry they should probably seek therapy. Let's not forget about the Nirvana implants, because when you're flying solo against a Grease's FOB, you probably need every bit of shield you can get at the worst of times. These implants are like the space version of eating your veggies. They're good for you, even if they're not the most exciting part of the meal. I only stopped by to ask for some sugar. They didn't have any, so they wouldn't let me leave. I'm still here, though. I'm killing them, and they're not big fans of that. The worst part is trying to figure out whether you should take the fight or not. When you warp in for the first time, a response fleet will land. That response fleet is normally comprised of cruisers, maybe a few frigates. You want to take into consideration how many Logi boats are on grid, how many E-War boats are on grid, and how many frigates with tackle are on grid. Additionally, it might also help to also take notice to how many anti-drone boats are going to be on grid. So the Blackbird is your ECM. It's going to prevent you from targeting the structure. Not a big deal. Your drones are doing enough damage to keep up with the timer while you're not shooting your missiles at it. But your drones are going to be useless unless you deal with the Condors and Worms, because those two things are going to shoot at your drones more than anything else. Additionally, the Kestrels and the Condors have warp scrams, and the Ospreys are going to provide reps to the other fleet members for the Carissa's fleet. So, first things first, take a look at tackle, right? Because if there's too much tackle on grid, you won't be able to make out the rest of the fleet, and you aren't going to be given a fair chance to warp off or do other things. So, Condors and Kestrels. There's too many on grid, just be wary. Kestrels also, against this fit, are going to apply more DPS because it is heavily thermal tanked and not kinetic tanked. So it's definitely important to keep that in mind. If there's a lot of Kestrels on grid, I'm going to be taking a lot more damage than if it was just Caracals. The Blackbird is going to prevent me from targeting the station with my missiles. This is a problem because my drones barely do enough to keep the shield timer, the hull timer, paused so that it doesn't rep to full health. So I definitely want to take into consideration how much time is going to be wasted. And sometimes it's nice to just be able to reload in between a cycle of the ECM boat. They normally orbit at around 75k, so it's quite a bit off. It's going to be a little difficult to apply to them, especially with short-range torpedoes or heavy missiles. You probably want cruise missiles. And at that point, are you really even applying to a cruiser? So going back to what I was saying, when you land, you're going to want to warp off, potentially, depending on what kind of fleet responds to you arriving. If it's a lot of things and it's just too much on grid, too much E-War, too many reps, too many warp scrams, warp disruptors, you might want to warp off, come back a little bit later, see if you get a lighter fleet. There's various things that you can do throughout sitting here, watching the station die, and managing your targets. I like to sometimes do the project discovery, make a little bit of passive ISK, and work my way towards the Marshall Blueprint copy. There's many other things that you can do. You can definitely multitask once you feel like you're properly fit for the DPS that's arriving. And additionally, you can also maybe manage some other fits. If you're a guy who deals with game theory or things like that, try to fit up some ships with those Nirvana implants installed. Maybe you might come up with something that's a little bit dangerous, a little bit fun to fly. You have a lot of options here. You want to make sure you're in a fleet when you start these. If you're not in a fleet, you won't get the payout. I made that mistake. I was not in a fleet when I started this, or when it ended, more or less, so I didn't get the DED payout. But I did get some nice modules. I was afraid that there was somebody in system in a deluge who might warp in and steal all my goodies. Thankfully, nobody was that smart or that dumb. Either way. So, thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to let the rest of the video play out. It's nothing crazy. We killed all the things that were going to do damage to us or cause us any pain later down the line, and now it's just a free race to see if I can beat the timer, which I will, because I'm applying enough DPS at a consistent enough rate where we'll be fine. But yeah, I'm going to let the rest of this play out. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to mail me in-game. My in-game name is above, actually. That's all one word, no spaces. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.